I'm not going to throw my life away for just $500,000. I'm going to empty the vault.
It was the second largest cash heist in U.S. history. 17 million in unsecured bills, guarded by the very man intent on stealing it all. A trusted employee turned love-struck super thief.
It's easy to get somebody to do something if you know they're that infatuated with you.
But it was more cash than anyone knew what to do with.
It was like 2,800 pounds of currency.
You can't bury it. You can't put it under your bed.
And then the heat was on. The heist became a murder plot.
If David got killed, there couldn't be any finger pointing.
We need to find David Gant or his body.
For the first time ever, the criminals who planned it
Stolen money spins very fast.
Oh, I'm a rich bitch now.
You're not rich now. You're in serious trouble.
and the cops who hunted them down
We knew that she was full of shit, and we don't believe in coincidences at the FBI.
come together to tell their own stories as we follow the money.
They went from living in a double wide to living in a mansion.
And dissect a near-perfect crime plagued by a simple yet fatal flaw.
I've made a mistake.
We started chasing down every dollar.
We all should have just took the money and moved away, far, far away.
This is Super Heists. It's an early Sunday morning just outside Charlotte. And employees at the Loomis Fargo Armored Car Warehouse have just begun to arrive for work.
Loomis Fargo was a armored car service. They would pick up money from different businesses and take it back to the banks.
The unassuming warehouse acts as a cash processing facility for tens of millions in unmarked bills from businesses within the region. The money is stored and counted before being redistributed to various banks, businesses, and ATMs by a fleet of armored cars. Watching over it, a handful of dedicated, if modestly paid, employees. At 9 a.m. sharp, the morning supervisor clocks in and begins his daily routine. But the supervisor's most important early morning task is to inspect the master vault.
Think about the millions of dollars that's in a vault. If you are a vault operator, you have access by way of your job title.
But the time lock securing the vault door just won't open. It quickly becomes clear that someone's tampered with it.
Vault door's not gonna open, not till the time runs down. And it would take 5 days for that to unlock.
Locked out of their own vault, the technicians have to break in like thieves.
In order to bypass the time lock, you would have to drill the vault door.
They open up the vault, and all of a sudden there's no money there.
It's empty. Who had the strength to take this amount of money and empty out a vault?
Robbing the 7-Eleven and getting 40 bucks in a pack of Marlboros was not for me. I knew that if I did something like that, I would take a huge amount of money.
Pick one. Have you ever stolen money or anything for that matter before?
No, I was rather boring before I did all this. I grew up in Gastonia, North Carolina. It's a little industrial town. When I graduated high school, my options were fairly limited. I went into the U.S. Army and I achieved the rank of specialist. I served in Desert Shield and Desert Storm.
He got out of the military, and all of a sudden he's working for Loomis, making barely minimum wage.
The Loomis Fargo Armored Car Company is the largest cash distribution network in the United States. With nearly 200 locations and 3,000 vehicles, the company moves upwards of $1 billion every day.
You're in a truck, one other person with $4 or $5 million, and you realize your paycheck's going to be $300-400 every week, and it starts weighing on you.
While on the job, Gant daydreams about pulling off the heist of a lifetime.
You go, you know, it would be nothing. Hey, let's just turn this thing around and head south.
But daydreams aside, Gant becomes a model employee and climbs the ranks at Loomis Fargo.
I ended up vault superintendent, and my job was to sort out all of the money and paperwork.
But the loftier job title doesn't lead to a fatter paycheck.
In '97, me and my wife were just barely scraping by. We were 2 paychecks away from being homeless at any given time. And then I met Kelly Campbell.
Kelly Campbell interview, take 1, Mark.
Most people, when they find out who I am, they're like, oh, I seen you on TV. That was so cool. I was born in Belmont, North Carolina, in a family of 5. Went to work when I was 16, had my first kid when I was 17. My marriage wasn't real great at that time. We were just barely making ends meet. I just wanted to be able to live a comfortable life.
In 1997, the average household income in Gaston County was just under $40,000 a year, with homes averaging $100,000.
I seen an ad in the paper, and I was like, wow, I'd be excited to work for Fargo. So I went and applied, and I got the job.
Back then, she was a pretty good-looking woman. I ain't gonna lie.
We just hang out and shoot the breeze.
I felt there was a hint of mutual attraction.
I wasn't attracted to him or anything, but he was a nice guy.
I felt like she would make a good replacement for my wife.
But the 9-to-5 grind proved too demanding, and Kelly leaves Loomis Fargo in the summer of 1997.
With young kids, I was just needing to stay at home.
That's when an old friend, Steve Chambers, comes to her with an idea.
We were hanging out at his place around the fire, just having beers, sitting, drinking. And he just was saying, you know, you could rob Loomis Fargo. And he's like, are you still in touch with anybody down there? And I told him about Gant. He still works there, and he works in the vault. He had a crush on me. He's like, what? We could use that. So I was like, okay, well, we'll see what he says.
It had been maybe a month or so after Kelly had left Fargo, and she called me on my cell phone.
And of course, he was like all excited to hear from me again.
She says, how do you feel about robbing Loomis?
I don't know if Gant thought it was serious in the beginning or not.
I had to sit there and gather myself for a second, and I told her straight up.
He's like, okay, yeah, we can do that.
As Gant's romantic super thief fantasies come to life, he didn't realize he was really a pawn in someone else's game.
You need the person doing the thinking, which was Steve. You need the person that's the bait, which is Kelly. And then you have the puppet, and Kelly's pulling the strings.
It's easy to get somebody to do something if you know they're that infatuated with you.
The gang wastes little time planning the heist, choosing to strike before Gant loses his nerve.
We only had about 2 meetings total. I would meet Kelly, and she would pass information from Steve.
David and Steve didn't meet. I'd call David, and we would go sit out in the woods somewhere. And he'd ask me what Steve had planned.
He wanted me to take like $500,000. And I said, no, I'm not gonna throw my life away for just $500,000. I'm gonna empty the vault. I'm gonna take it all. We had potential for somewhere north of 20-some million in cash. If I could get far enough away in a very short amount of time, my odds of getting away with it were pretty high.
If their estimation is correct, a 3-way split would leave them with a cool $6.6 million apiece, 317 times more than Gant's annual salary of $20,000. And the cost to pull it all off? Virtually nothing.
The fake ID cost about $10. We put gas in Kelly's truck that day. Just time was mostly invested. Planning everything out was terrifying, but it's thrilling. It's kind of like riding a roller coaster with no seatbelt.
Days after Gant agrees to the heist, the plan is set for the following Saturday. As a trusted employee, Gant has access to everything he needs to pull off the biggest robbery in Loomis history. He'll access the code to disable the alarms and a known combination to open the vault. Once inside, he'll use push carts to carry the cash from the vault and use a Loomis work van to escape. To buy himself some time, he'll trigger the time lock to block the next shift's access to the vault.